For our next case, we're traveling 5,000 miles north from the cities and jungles of Argentina to more familiar territory. Welcome to the Ozarks, folks, a physiographic region that spans multiple states, but most notably Arkansas and Missouri, both of which are crucial in this case. Now, you might be familiar with this region for Netflix's wildly successful series named The Ozarks, and unfortunately, this story does not help paint a friendlier picture. It was on May the 21st, 2023, that a doctor and crypto millionaire named John Forsyth went missing. John was a 49-year-old man with a very prosperous future. During his childhood, he had grown up with 5 sisters and a brother, and was also known to be happy and passionate. He studied mathematics at university, but eventually would become a doctor at the Mercy Hospital in Cassville, Missouri. For most of his adulthood, John lived a very normal lifestyle. He married his wife in 1995 before divorcing her in 2019, and although they would remarry in 2020, they once again divorced by April 2022. Now, over the course of their relationship, they had 7 children together, and apparently, despite their divorce, the relationship remained healthy and amicable. After legal proceedings took place, John was ordered to pay $4,000 a month in child support, plus an additional $15,000 a month in other expenses, whatever that means. I mean, that sounds a lot to me, but maybe that's just normal in these situations. Honestly, I wouldn't know. Now, fortunately, John could easily afford these payments, and that wasn't just because he was a doctor. The truth is that he was also a cryptocurrency millionaire. To put things bluntly, Mr. Forsyth was one of the early ones. He mined and owned Bitcoin in 2016, back when its value was dirt cheap, and then held on to it through the peaks and troughs. John also co-founded OnfoCoin, a referral-based cryptocurrency project dubbed the People's Currency. He also played a crucial role in developing blockchain technology and decentralized finance, making him a well-respected cryptocurrency community man. In his own words, it became obvious to me that math-based currencies like Bitcoin would eventually supplant sovereign notes. I mined Bitcoin very early and then held on to them, and the massive appreciation of those assets allowed me to invest in another cryptocurrency. It is worth noting here that John always had a solid reputation of helping others, not just at work, but back at home with family and friends too. I mean, it comes with being a doctor, and to add to that, he had always helped his brother with his various health issues, and was a good father to his children. And on that note, he wasn't bitter about the divorce either. In fact, John had already fallen in love with another woman named Laura Barnett, who also worked at the hospital. Not only were the two engaged, but they were also now expecting a baby together. And John, he was absolutely over the moon about this. And apparently, according to his brother, he was the happiest he had been in many years. Now, with so much going on in his life, it was quite normal for John to section certain aspects of it away from close friends and family. And so, while he was a caring and kind person, he was also rather crafty with what he told them about his crypto business. Again though, John seemed extraordinarily happy with his life and the direction it was going. That was, of course, until he vanished. On Sunday, May the 21st, 2023, something was clearly wrong when John missed his 7 p.m. shift at the hospital. Now, John had never missed a shift before without telling anyone in the 15 years he had been there. So, this was an immediate red flag to his colleagues and loved ones when he suddenly vanished. At the time of his disappearance, John was living in an RV next to the hospital where he worked. So, bad traffic was off the list of excuses. When the authorities got there, they found it to be unlocked, and that, furthermore, he had left his 5 cell phones, laptop, and keys inside. And only 2 days later, they found his black Infiniti sedan abandoned nearby at the Cassville Aquatic Park. His car keys, passport, and briefcase were found inside, and apparently, it had been parked in, quote, a very hidden location, in a place where it seems like cars are not supposed to go. After reviewing local surveillance footage, detectives found him to be walking towards his RV at roughly 7 a.m. while texting his fiancée. He seemed happy in these messages, and told her that he would see her later, but that is when he suddenly stopped responding to all of her messages. According to officers, another surveillance camera captured him driving and parking his black car in the Aquatic Park parking lot at 7:12 a.m. 10 minutes later, a white SUV arrived and parked next to him. He was then seen getting into this vehicle for a short while before exiting afterwards. The white SUV then leaves a few minutes later, and John is seen walking around the parking lot 10 to 15 minutes after that. He then walked away from his car, never to be seen again. Several law enforcement agencies, including the Missouri State Highway Patrol, searched about a 9-mile radius around the park using people, dogs, and drones. John's family would also set up a Facebook page seeking for any help and information, but despite their best efforts, he sadly was nowhere to be found. That would be until 9 days later, when an update came in the most horrific of ways. On May 30th, 2023, 2 men were kayaking in Beaver Lake, located 20 miles south in Arkansas, and that is where they came across John's body floating in the water. Quite clearly, he had been dead for quite some time. Officers were dispatched to the crime scene immediately. It was apparent that he had died from a gunshot wound, but the authorities would not say where he had been shot or whether it appeared to be self-inflicted. Now, of course, this has left many unanswered questions in the case. And although the Benton County coroner confirmed that an autopsy had been completed, he also stated that the results would not be released until the investigation ended. The news was sure to devastate his family, both old and new. His brother, fiancé, and ex-wife were all devastated by it, and they all immediately suspected that foul play was involved. To quote his brother, Richard, he said, "We're in shock, and I suspect foul play. He wouldn't miss a shift, even if his eyeballs were hanging out of their sockets. He's punctual in the extreme. It was an immediate red flag." His fiancée, Laura, was distraught, and after claiming that he was the love of her life, she is now faced with raising his child as a single parent. A terrible challenge, no matter what position you are in. So, of course, the big questions here are, what exactly happened to John? Was this an accident? Was it self-inflicted? Or was someone out to murder him? With him last seen talking to someone in a white SUV, many wonder if perhaps that person knows what happened to John. Of course though, the authorities are remaining tight-lipped on the situation, leading many to speculate. Saying that, John was also seen alive and well after the SUV drove away, so it is possible that they have nothing to do with this story. As we know, he then walked away from his own vehicle and out of sight of the surveillance camera, never to be seen alive again. And so, did he meet someone by chance maybe? Or was someone out to get him? Or was this just one terrible accident? Or even taking his own life? Well, as it turns out, John had actually made enemies in the past. In fact, back in the year 2022, he was even kidnapped by masked assailants, as confirmed by his brother. During this time, he was zip-tied before being driven to a dark, cold and lonely bridge. He was then threatened before being let go. The thing is, John never reported this to the police because he believed that he was in continued danger. I mean, he told no one about this. His brother didn't even find out until after he passed away. The only person to know about this was one of John's best friends, but even still, John had no idea why he was kidnapped. He did believe though that it was crypto related. According to reports, the authorities apparently do not suspect foul play, which is in direct contradiction to the opinions of John's family and close friends, all of whom strongly reject any suggestion that he took his own life. You see, John was a happy, successful, and ambitious man, and was never the type to accept defeat or think about death. There are strange details to highlight, however. It is noted that John had allegedly sent large amounts of money to his family in the days leading up to his disappearance. So, it does beg the question, did he know that something was wrong? Perhaps he knew that someone was after him, or maybe he was thinking about the end of the road. On the flip side, he did ask Laura to marry him only 3 days before disappearing, which is not something you'd expect from a man who was contemplating death. To add to this, he was also aware that she was now pregnant with his child, and John was a very caring and thoughtful man. Kidnapping aside, John also experienced long feuds with other people online, some of whom would even hack his computer and deliberately try to cause him harm. So maybe they decided to take things one step further and end his life. There are issues within the investigation itself too. When John's family inquired about how they identified his body, detectives allegedly responded by saying that they recognized his face, and simply that was it. In addition to this, forensic test results have never been disclosed to the public, and apparently there are no leads or interviews in the current investigation. Quite frankly, a lot of this sounds quite suspicious to me. It is worth remembering though that the authorities may know much more than they are currently leading on, and of course that is to maximise the potential chances of catching a potential murderer. So, was John murdered, or did he take his own life? And with this investigation so patchy, can we be sure to trust? So, was John murdered, or did he take his own life? And while there may be a valid reason why this case seems so patchy at the moment, can we really be sure why? Much like our previous case, this one is shrouded in mystery, and the investigation still continues to this day. And John's family, old and new, still struggle in smoke and mirrors.